So I don't really think you would have ever heard a rat sound quite like this before. I've got an incredibly powerful and simple mod that I'm going to show you how to install today inside one of these, a Proco Rat. This mod can be applied to loads of different overdrives, distortions, even some fuzz pedals, and even some guitar amplifiers as well. But the best thing about this mod is it gives you access to tones that are normally quite tricky to dial in, all without altering the original sound of the pedal, which is pretty sweet. I love the Rat. I've modified and built loads of them over the years, and it's kind of one of the pedal's best kept secrets, known by loads of great guitarists, that a lot of its best tones can be found when it's configured more as a low drive booster. And that's where this mod comes in. It really widens out that sweet spot. Those of you that have used a Rat before will know it goes into pretty heavily saturated distortion quite quickly. Before we install this into a pedal, I just want to show you how this all works. Now, Plus members, I also have a special vid over on my fourth wall page. There's some links down in the description. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of other mods, including that 3 Rats in 1 mod, which is really cool. If you haven't already, go over and check out my website. There are free accounts available, links in the description. So let's have a look at another mod that's kind of similar. It's called the Rouettes mod. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway, and it's a great mod, and it is free to do, where this one does cost 1 cent. So, you know, you got to weigh that one up. But the Rouettes mod does change the pedal's original tone, and also you have no control over the results. And it also doesn't really focus on that sweet spot that I was talking about. Here is the gain stage of a Rat pedal, and the Rouettes mod is simply snipping this resistor out here, this 47 ohm resistor. That's it, and it cuts off this entire RC network here and changes the voicing of the pedal overall, but it also changes its gain structure, so it just doesn't have as much drive. It's actually a really cool mod, and I definitely reckon you should try it out if you want a sort of a softer, bluesier sort of Rat, less aggressive Rat. The mod that we're doing today is insanely simple. It is a really powerful mod, and the thing is, mods don't have to be insanely complex to be really good. And I think sometimes today a lot of the mods that you see out there are just complicated for the sake of being complicated. So you don't need 15 component changes to make it sound good. In this case, we've got 1. So as you see here, we've got the Rat's distortion potentiometer, and that's set up as a variable resistor, a 100k audio pot. As we turn the pot up, the value raises, so it starts at 0 ohms all the way up to 100k, and at 100k it's at its most gain. You can do a few things to sort of widen out that sweet spot. You could replace the entire pot with a lower value, but then to me, you're losing the original sound of the Rat, which is really sad. So what I like to do is I would put a resistor in parallel with this pot, essentially changing the value and the taper of this pot. And what that does is it widens out that sweet spot. We'll go into the value of that resistor in the next section when we do the install, but that can be whatever value that you want to be. You can try a whole bunch of different values if you want. I'm going to put it on a switch so I can switch it on and off, just so you can hear the difference. Now, if you do configure the Rat more as a low drive booster, like, you know, Nuno Betancourt style, then you'd probably just want to hardwire it in if you have no use for those other sounds. But I do like it on a switch because I love all those Rat sounds, so I'm going to definitely put it on a switch. Right, so let's install this mod, and then we'll do a demo showing you how it sounds. Okay, so you want to take the bottom off the pedal. It's just a matter of unscrewing those 4 feet, and then the bottom just pops off. Let's have a quick look at that Rouettes mod for a second. It's just this resistor here. This is a 47 ohm resistor, and it's just a matter of clipping one side of it. You can clip the whole thing out if you want, and that's that mod done. So that's a super basic mod, but it does sound very, very cool. So where we're going to be working today is over here. This is the distortion pot, and where we're going to be wiring that resistor is just between these 2 outer lugs. You could hardwire it in like this, obviously cut those leads down a little bit so it's not so long, but just wiring them straight into these spots here. The resistor that I'm going to use today, the one that I think really enhances the best part of that sweep, is a 10k. That almost turns this pot into a linear taper pot, a 10k linear taper, almost. But what I want to do is I'm going to wire it to a switch so I can turn it on and off. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so there's the switch mounted there. It's mounted on the front. I like to mount it right between the filter and the volume, just because quite a nice spot to access. I'm using a double pole, double throw switch. You could use a single pole, single throw switch. You don't need such a big switch in there, but I just like how it looks. I like that I can mount the 10k resistor directly onto the switch. It's just a nice way of mounting it, and it's just wired to either side of that pot there. Right, so let's test it out and see what it sounds like. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button. It just lets me know what sort of videos you want me to create in the future. Okay, so I've got a bit of a sound going on. So I don't really think you would have ever heard a rat sound quite like this before. Okay, so have a listen to this. Pretty nice, right? So that rat at the moment is just configured as a low drive booster. So when the rat's on half, this is what we'd normally be getting. This is configured more as a low drive booster. So it's just pushing that amp. If I turn that off, this is what the amp kind of sounds like. It's a little bit dirty already. And all this does is it just pushes it a little bit more. If I just raise that volume, I'm just driving that amp harder. So that's all that's happening there, and I can just sort of use that filter to taste, really. I mean, much like how people use tube screamers, really, the same exact way. But now, where this distortion knob is on about half, normally that would be way down here to get the same sort of sound. So you can sort of see that's about the same. So once you start getting to about a quarter, it ramps up super duper quick. Check this out, I've got it set to about 3/4. Okay, this is with the mod on. It basically gives you 2 channels. I mean, that's a lot of gain. But so much clearer as well. Like not so muddied up by that huge amount of saturation. Let's use it as a booster to boost like a more high gain sort of sound. Okay, so this amp's got a bit more gain going on. Now, if I engage this, maybe I'd set it to about half again and push the front end of that amp. Listen to sort of what happens. So you can hear it is tightening up that sound, giving a lot more clarity and pushing the front end of the amp. Even though this mod is quite simple, you can see it really transforms this pedal and gives it sort of a new lease on life. Something different, a low drive booster to push the front end of your amp instead of a standalone high gain sort of heavily saturated pedal. And you can see why a lot of people love using it in this way, because it does feel really nice to play through. Almost feels like a duty compressor when you use it in this way. So very, very cool. Anyway, guys, I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time.